So today we're going to do the Garmin Force Kracken quick release bracket. And the challenge we have right now is figuring out how to get the bolts into the holes. There's 6 bolts that have to go in, and you can see it's very difficult to get them in there. So there has to be another way to get these bolts. I can't barely put my finger in there. The 2 on the side where the propeller are, those are pretty easy access, but the other 4, not so much. All right, so after some playing around, I have to actually partially deploy the motor. So that way it flips this up and gets everything out of the way. And that gives you access to the bolts down inside there. At least the back 4. The front 4, you have to put on when the motor's not deployed. And then these you have to put on while it is deployed. So, yeah. I'll get those put on, the plate partially put on. Okay, so we got some of the bolts on. We got 4 right here. And like I said, you have to deploy the motor somewhat. So it doesn't have to be all the way, but you gotta push this lever down, push the shaft out, and deploy the motor to get to the 4 bolts here. Now technically I didn't have to take the side off like I said previously. So that's a good thing. But you do have to get access to the 4 bolts. Now, I have this pretty heavy duty socket set. And you can see here, it's pretty thick. Well, this doesn't fit into the slot there to hold the nut. So I had to go back to my cheap set because it's much thinner, and that fit in there perfectly, and I was able to get them on no problem. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to undeploy this so that I have access to the 2 bolts here on the front, and we'll get that mounted, and we should be good to go. So yeah, a little bit of a process to get this on, but not too bad once you figure out the secret handshake with the motor to get access to the bolts. All right, so I got the motor all locked back up again. We're going to put these 2 bolts on, and access is pretty simple. It's right there and right there. So that's not too big of a deal at all. So we'll get those 2 on, and then we should be finished with mounting the mounting plate. So real quick, one thing when putting these bolts in, this screw hole was just a hair off. So I gave it a couple whacks with the hammer here. Since this is metal, you're not going to hurt anything. So I gave it just a couple taps with the hammer, lined it up, no big deal. But this gets a little screwy here. So what I had to do to make this work, all right, so putting the screwdriver up through here, my hand, I don't know about you guys, but I got fat fingers. Getting this all situated to hold the bolt, I can't get my fingers in there to hold it. So I'll get this set up and show you what I had to do to make this work. It's a little interesting, but it works. All right, so I'm going to put this up in here, get the screw driver in there. I'm going to take these and just hold it in place while I tighten this down. And that's it. It worked. Got to get through this stuff. And sometimes you got to improvise. All right. So there you go, folks. We finally got this thing on. All 6 bolts with the nuts and washers. A little bit of a science project to get it done. But hopefully this will help you get through putting on this quick release bracket. And let's test it out here. There you go. Fits right in. So the next stage is to mount this on the boat. And once we get this on the boat, it should just click into there like magic, and we're all set to go fishing. Hope you enjoyed the video. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you on the next one.